Hello and welcome to Sketch Together. My name is Paulo Stanley and this is a crash course on Principle for Mac. Principle is a great tool for creating user interface animations and prototypes. On this session, we're going to have an intro to the animation panel, where we're going to be able to use different keyframes, different types of easing, and even springs, and even some delays between screens and objects, and makes animation pretty cool. So enough talk, let's go ahead and do that. So on this lecture, we're going to learn about creating custom animations, and we're going to do this by connecting two screens, two artboards, and we're going to make this card grow into a detail screen, full screen like this. Their elements are the same, well, almost the same, and we're going to make custom animations between them. So I have a sketch file here. If you don't have it, go to your resources or to the descriptions of this video, and then you'll find the sketch file there. So you can play around with it. And I'm going to go to Principle, and here in Principle I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to import my sketch file. So here I have it here. I have both artboards, and now I can start adding events, so to create an animation between these two screens. So I'm going to add an event to this whole card, and I'm going to, when it's tapped, it will go to the next screen. And then I'm going to do the opposite from here. When you tap on this square, I'm going to add a tap that will take you back to the previous screen. And right now, because I named these different layers, for example, this one is called image big, and this one over here is also called image big. Obviously, this one is called hello, and over here is called hello too. And all of these, for example, title is over here. So Principle, by default, is going to create animations between the screens of these elements that are named the same. So if I click on them, it creates an animation of those two. And if I want to edit the animations that Principle created, I can just tap on this arrow that was created between the screens. And then here I can use different keyframes to delay the animations, or I can also change by default, it gives you an ease in, ease out easing, and I can change it to spring, to linear, or to none. So yeah, that gives me a lot of control, and I can make them even a little bit slower if I want to, just by dragging different keyframes, and I can do this individually by each screen and each property on each layer. Okay, so now that I have this, it looks it's starting to look good, but obviously there are some elements that are not they're not being animated. The problem here is that, for example, this card is only here, but it's not over here, so it just disappears. And when you go back from this screen to this screen, the card just appear out of nowhere. So what we have to do is create a dummy. So I'm on this screen too of this same card. So I'm going to copy it, and over here on this artboard, I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to move it outside the screen. And that way, when I create the animation, now it looks like that card is going away. It's going outside the screen. That's perfect. That's what I wanted. And also, I can see how the header just appears and disappears. And if I want to create a smoother transition, I can just choose this header, and I'm going to copy it, and over here I'm going to paste it too, and I'm going to put it outside, but also I'm going to change the opacity of it to 0. And if I preview it, I'm going to make this preview a little bit bigger so we can see it. I can see now that it's coming from the top and also hiding when I go to the detail page. And also I can see that the description on this screen, it just appears out of nowhere. So what I can do is the same. Now from this screen, from this artboard, I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it over here. And over here I'm going to change the opacity of it to 0. And now it should create a transition between them. So it creates a nice transition, but I also want it to move a little bit. So I'm going to move it like 30 pixels down, and then it just appears. And I'm also going to delay that transition. So I'm going to select the animation between this screen and this screen. I'm going to select it right by going here on this arrow, and I'm going to select the copy layer, this one, and I'm going to change this by creating a delay, and I'm going to move all of these keyframes a little bit to the right, so the animation starts after all of these animations are almost finished. So let me zoom this so we can see it in action. Let me zoom up, and you know what, I'm going to actually put it like this so I'm going to grow it, and now I can see it. See how the animation occurred after the other animations were almost finished, and that way it just creates a nice transition. And I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do the opposite on this transition. On this transition, the copy layer, I'm going to make it disappear right away. One of the first things that disappears. So I'm going to do this by selecting these keyframes and making them a little bit, making the animation a little bit faster. So I preview, I go to my preview, and it just disappears really quickly. That way, the card that appears from the bottom appears once the copy has disappeared too. And now I want to, right now it's making all the animations using an ease in, ease out, which is nice, but sometimes I want something a little bit fancier, like a spring animation. So for example, this hello, I want it to bounce once it appears, and it disappears once it grows and it shrinks. So I can do this by going here, for example here, and then here, instead of the default animation, I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to, from default, I'm going to choose spring. And now I'm going to do the same with the other animation, the one that comes from the cards to the full screen. And I'm going to do the same with this guy. Sorry, this guy selected, and then I select all these keyframes. And then I'm going to say, instead of default, I'm going to select spring, and I'm going to preview it. And now see how it bounces once it appears, which is pretty cool, pretty nice. And sometimes that's what I want. So there you have it. That's the basics on creating custom animations by using keyframes, easing curves, and springs, which creates really cool effects.